Hello everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Guns Explained. I'm your host Cameron Porter. We've got a very good opportunity to learn a lot today. We're being joined by Clark Aposhian. He is a firearms instructor here in Utah, and we are at the Gun Vault here in South Jordan. They were gracious enough to let us use their facilities for this interview, as well as for the demonstration segment, which you'll see here in a few minutes. But first, we're going to have Clark here. Thanks for being here, by the way.
Hey, no worries. I love being back at the Gun Vault all the time. So.
It's a great place to be. So he's going to teach us a little bit about what we call feeding types. So what that means is there are different ways that you can get a round of ammunition into the chamber of the gun, and there's different advantages to them, and we're going to talk about what those are. So I guess my first question, Clark, would be, what are the most common ways of getting that ammunition into the chamber of the gun?
Well, the most common way is a magazine.
Okay.
And the magazine just holds rounds in abeyance until they are, by motion of the bolt or the action, being pushed into the chamber. And so that's typically on a semi-automatic or self-loading type firearm. And that's my favorite type, because then you can hold extra magazines in your pockets and on your belt and, and everywhere else, and just pop that empty magazine out and pop a new one in.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we've seen a lot of magazine-fed firearms. It seems to be the most common. So how does, really quick, just kind of dive into that, how does a magazine work?
Well, essentially a magazine is just basically a hollow steel or plastic tube, and it's got a base plate on the bottom, and then inside it's got a little spring. It's kind of a zigzag spring that goes all the way from the bottom to the top. Then on the top of that, it's got a follower. Now that follower, usually a little piece of metal or plastic, and it's shaped just perfectly to hold that first round at the perfect angle. So for when you're loading a magazine, if you ever end up loading, because you can load the ammunition incorrectly, and it won't work in your firearm. But if you load it with the bullet portion facing down, I haven't seen a magazine yet that will, that the firearm will load that in there. So you always want that facing up, and it more closely resembles the angle of the barrel the time it's going in. So you just push those right in there, one on top of the other. And they have different kinds of magazines. They have actually internal magazines that aren't made to be removed from the firearm.
Oh.
And you can't. But the most common ones for pistols and rifles are the detachable magazines. And they can be skinny, just about the width of one round of ammunition, and they just stack one round on top of the other, or double stacked or staggered type magazines. That way you can hold the same, or you can actually hold more ammunition in the same height of the magazine.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it just makes it a little bit fatter though.
So there's magazine, as you said, that's the most common.
Yeah.
What other options are there?
Well, there's tubular magazine. If you know the old Wild West, the model Winchester Model 94, where he's going like this, John Wayne.
Oh, okay, like a lever.
Okay, yeah. It's got those ammunition stored in a tube underneath the barrel. It runs in line with the barrel, and you load it. It's kind of slow to load, slow to unload, and it's always there. And you're just pushing those rounds up against a spring, and that spring holds the tension, and so it's a lever action. Typically, you're going to have a tubular magazine for that. A lot of 22s are tubular. Tubular under the barrel magazine. You've got belt fed. Oh gosh, my favorite. Now belt fed is typically just ammunition that is connected by little links, and those links are unhooked inside the action, but it's a belt, and you can just add on extra. When we get fatter, we add on extra. No, we don't do that. But anyway, you can just keep adding on to the belt, and you could have a 1,000-round belt. I wouldn't want to see your barrel after you shoot 1,000 rounds at once, but anyways, very common in actual machine guns, like the SAW,
Sure.
the M240, M249, that type of thing.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, we've got that. Of course, the revolver isn't a magazine at all, but it holds rounds in abeyance in separate chambers inside a cylinder.
Okay.
And by action of the firearm will rotate to get to the next round each time.
Hence the term, I guess, revolver.
Exactly. Very good,
sense.
Cameron. That's excellent. Guns explained once again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else we got? I know I'm forgetting. There's a clip.
A clip.
Now a clip is interesting because a clip is, I think, almost without exception, used in connection with a magazine. A clip can load a magazine or be used to load a magazine, but it's not actually the only part that holds it. So like an M1 Garand has an 8-round clip that you put into the magazine that is one of those fixed magazines in the weapon.
Oh.
The 30-06.
That explains, there's a lot of misconception around there that, clips are a different type of magazine, or they serve the same purpose as a magazine. But
Yeah,
that's
it's
not-
always used. Yeah, a clip is always used in connection. Like you've got the like an AR-15 or M4 or something like that. You've got these little 10-round stripper clips, and you can put those little. It's basically a little spring that holds these rounds, all uniformly nice in perfect order. And you put that with a little device. It holds right on top of the magazine. You push them down into the magazine itself, so it just kind of holds them nice. But that's a stripper clip. It's a form of a clip, but it loads a magazine.
Gotcha.
So you could say, I've heard so many times people trying to explain the difference between clips and magazines, and some people say, well, a magazine has a spring and a clip is a spring, but that doesn't help.
Okay.
It just
Sure. Well, it sounds like the main difference is that whether it's an internal or external magazine, you can use a clip. A clip is the purpose is to load a magazine.
Yeah.
You never a round of ammunition will never go directly from a clip to the chamber.
That's correct.
Is that
Very
accurate?
good.
Okay.
Yes, I like that.
Okay, cool. So what about a drum? Like we've all seen. We've all seen those old Rambo movies where he's shooting from the hip. He's got a big old drum of ammunition.
So a drum is a type of regular detachable magazine.
Okay, so it's considered a magazine.
And so you've got a drum that holds the rounds in abeyance, kind of in a reservoir, if you will, and typically wound by a spring to keep tension into that and feeding it right up into the more, it almost looks like a traditional magazine than a traditional detachable like a pistol or rifle magazine, and it feeds it up into that, and then everything else is just normal because it's still going to fit a drum magazine on a Thompson. Actually, wait, a Thompson's a little different, but
Okay.
actually quite a bit different. But we can get these drum magazines for your ARs and for your HKs and this kind of stuff. But then those type feed, the what I call the Beta mags. They have Beta, I think, being 100.
Oh,
is that
okay.
right? Isn't that Beta 100?
I don't
It
know.
must be the C100. Anyways, so you've got, and then it feeds it right up into a traditional magazine. But the drum magazine, like on the Thompsons, the Thompson 45s, those are it's a drum. You open it up and you load the rounds in there, and then you wind it, and it goes right from the drum into the chamber. That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's still called a magazine because it feeds right from
Sure.
that into the chamber.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, did you try, are we going to try any drum magazines or anything like that?
So no, I don't think that Dan Maynard, he's going to be joining us later. I don't think he has a drum-fed one, but it was a question I was
But
curious
it's neat,
about.
yeah. It's drum magazines are fun. They still, I think the biggest one I've seen for a Thompson is 100 rounds. But
Okay.
boy, that's a heavy weight on 100 rounds
Oh,
of
yeah.
45 ammo.
I can imagine.
And that gun is heavy already. Yeah.
Thank you, Clark. This
Oh,
has been a fantastic.
no worries. It's lots of
discussion.
fun.
You are a wealth of knowledge. So, unfortunately, Clark won't be able to join us for the demonstration segment, so we are going to say goodbye to him now. But we'll be back in just a minute as soon as we get down to the range, and we'll be showing you some of the different feeding types that Clark has educated us about today. Thanks for being here, Clark.
Thank you, Cameron. Appreciate it.
All right, here we are at the indoor gun range at the Gun Vault in South Jordan, Utah. Dan Maynard is here. He's going to talk us through shooting some of these different types of firearms that use different feeding types, like a magazine and a cylinder and that sort of thing. So thanks for being here, Dan.
Yeah, no problem.
We really appreciate it. So what are we going to shoot first?
Today we're going to go into the magazine fed. So we brought out a SIG P320.
Okay.
So this is, I guess, the whole setup right here. So the difference here is you're going to deal with a magazine, right? So there's a spring inside. The rounds are going to be fed through the top, and you just press them straight down. These rounds are going to come out like so, and they're just going to feed into the gun. So as we put it in there, it's going to feed just up into the magazine like this, and then you'll charge the gun to load the round. So do you want to go ahead and try and fire this guy here?
Sure, yeah, let's give it a shot.
Okay.
So you want me to...
All right, so go ahead and step on in there.
Okay.
You're going to grab the pistol with your right hand.
Okay.
All right, you'll grab the magazine with the bullets facing forward. Just insert the magazine until it clicks. Make sure it gets a good seat. And then as you're downrange, again, another good safety tip, which I see people a lot here at the range, is they'll put their finger on the trigger during this process. You're doing a great job of keeping your finger off the trigger, and that's what we want to make sure that we do every single time. That's a good practice, because if something's going to happen, it's happening because your finger's on the trigger. So when you get to that point, grab the firearm, point it down range, grab the top of the slide, pull it all the way back, and just release it.
Okay. So just grab it like this.
Yeah, either way, either that or just kind of in a pinch form, whichever's more comfortable. But you're going to pull it all the way to the rear and then just release it. Perfect. So now you're loaded and you're ready to go. So just line up your sights, put it on the center of the target, and pull the trigger.
Okay. So it's the spring inside the magazine that is loading up the next round, and that's what makes it a semi-automatic.
Correct. Yeah, it's a semi-automatic, so it's going to load the next round automatically. It's going to come back in. It's going to be ready for that next round. Depending on how many rounds you have in there, as you get towards the end, if you cycle it all the way out, most pistols will actually lock that slide back, letting you know that you've completed basically that magazine and you're out. So all you have to do is drop a new one in, pull the slide back and release it, and you're ready to go again.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was empty.
There you go. See how it's locked back now?
Oh, yep.
If you turn the gun over, you'll see the magazine release button.
So this one right here?
Yep. So you hit that, it drops the magazine. You can grab another one, pop it back in, pull the slide, and you're going again.
Gotcha.
So it's really quick to get onto your next rounds. So that's the semi-automatic with the magazine fed.
Okay.
Next, you kind of see the old classic style, right, with the revolver.
Yeah.
This one has the release button here. It releases the cylinder. So you'll push this button, that slides out. Some other models, you'll see that there's a little dust door flap on this side. You'll just open the flap, and then the cylinder will just spin. This is a different model, so it doesn't do it.
Gotcha.
So this one pops open this way. You'll load the rounds from this side into the cylinder. You'll close it.
That's pretty nifty. I like that.
And then these ones will just, like I said, pop out. And then there's a little button here that just kicks out the shells.
Nice.
So you do that, load it back up, drop it back down, you're good to go. Open it up, pop it out, start dropping some rounds in there. And once the cylinder is completely full, you'll just drop it back down. And if you want, you can shoot it from double action, so you can feel like the full trigger pull and the weight thereof.
Okay, so I just flip it back in?
Yep, just drop it in.
Okay.
Okay, so once you're in and you're locked, just make sure it's set. Yep, you're all good to go. So just same thing, get up into shooting position.
Okay.
Just make sure you have a good sturdy grip and you're holding on to it.
Oop.
It's really heavy pull on that. There you go.
Ooh.
See, if you shoot it that way, it's a heavy pull.
But the kickback is not as bad as I expected.
Yeah, it's not. This is a nice one. This is like with that heavier frame gun, it doesn't go as much as you think. If you want to try the single action, go ahead and pull the hammer all the way back.
Okay.
All right.
Wow.
See the difference?
Oh yeah, that's a much lighter touch.
Right.
In fact, I kind of prefer that.
So if you're trying to be a little more accurate with the revolver, that's the way you're going to want to do it.
Okay.
That's it. So you don't get as many rounds there. So the last one that we're going to be looking at today is we actually brought out a machine gun, which is always fun. So this is a 249 saw. It's actually belt fed. So when you're looking at them here, I should have taken this.
So
one.
why would someone, I guess my question would be, why would someone choose a belt over a magazine?
Well, there's not a lot of everyday uses that you see somebody pulling out a belt fed gun. I mean, the reality is they're more for military use or just recreation, going out and shooting that way. You're not going to typically see too many people on an everyday situation, handling a belt-fed firearm.
Cool.
So these ones are a little bit different in the way that they load as well. So you have this whole action here. So these ones you'll lay in, just like that. The rounds go up. They always have the rule, brass to the grass, right? So the brass goes down, the casings come up on top. Once you're there, you're going to close it, make sure it's locked in. And then the way that these charge is you'll pull this all the way back, and then you'll set it back into normal position, right? You pull it back, and then you'll lock it up into that forward position.
All right.
So this is a fun one.
Woo!
Just let the rest of the belt rip right here. Just go all the way out.
I don't know if I have the guts to do that,
I'm
but we'll
confident
see.
you can do it.
All right, here we go. Woo! Ah! Woo, that's some hot brass.
Yeah, those things come out of there nice and hot. So that's a lot of fun. This is a great gun if you've never shot one before. So that's kind of the difference in some of the different guns that you see versus, you got the magazine fed and the pistols, the revolvers, and then something belt fed.
Oh yeah, that was a great demonstration. Thank you so much, Dan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We also want to throw a shout out, a thank you to our patrons on Patreon for helping us continue to grow. And if you want to help Guns Explained, if you believe in what we're doing and you want us to be able to reach more people and continue doing these episodes, head over to patreon.com, patreon.com. Find us, we're just Guns Explained, and you can help us by contributing as little as $1 a month. You can help us keep going. So thanks again, thanks to Dan. Very special thanks to the Gun Vault for facilitating this and letting us come in and do this. We've been very grateful for their help, and we'll see you next week.